Hey, it's party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show here from the Mothership, which is Studio 22. We got Chance, the soulless ginger rapper, driving us into the nether regions. Candice, the queen of the Ethiopians. My goodness, how many people made money on Bitcoin and AMC and Nokia? What else? GameStop. Man, it's a scandal, people. It's a scandal. You remember when social media was limiting people on places like Twitter and Facebook, and so everybody said, well, we'll just go over to Parler where they don't have algorithms, and then they shut that down. It's exactly what this Robinhood scandal, for those of you not familiar, Robinhood is a trading app, and they made it where you couldn't find a lot of these stocks that were being traded by, just normal kids on Reddit, whatever. They said, we're going to go in here and find these bankrupt companies, and we're just going to pour money into them. And so GameStop went from whatever, $40 a share up to $440, $50 a share, something insane like that. And then, but it made it where you couldn't even find GameStop on their app. I made money, Candace. Did you make any money? Did you make a little bit?
I did, actually.
All right, good.
Yeah. Dogecoin was where it was at yesterday.
Dogecoin, that's right. That's that Bitcoin stuff is doing pretty good. I'm at the point now where I got like 3 trading apps. I've got 2 or 3 Bitcoin trading apps. I got to get consolidated. I got money scattered everywhere. I didn't make a lot though, because like you said, if you're hearing it on the message boards, it's already too late, right? I mean, it's pretty much that's a done deal. But anyway, it's kind of been interesting to watch over the last couple of weeks. My friend Courtney Holland, she put something on Twitter and then shared it over to Instagram. She said, Biden is signing one executive order after another. We can't trade in the free market. Big tech has full control over our freedom of speech. We can't open our businesses. The integrity of our elections is at stake. Wake up, America. We no longer live in the land of the free. That's a fact. That's what's going on. That's why I am running for governor in Texas. It's the least I could do. Get in there and mess stuff up. See what kind of stuff, and you know what I'm talking about, what kind of ish we can mess up, because it's crazy right now. And we launched Prather2022.com yesterday, so get over there. We're going to be adding a lot of platform issues, talking about the freedoms that we want at stake, freedoms that are at stake in the state of Texas, and the things that we're going to be doing to make sure that Texas becomes the Texas once again that most Texans think that it is, but unfortunately right now it's not. So stay tuned on that. I want to talk to you a little bit in today's episode about some of those things that matter as Americans, but also specifically as Texans, and we're going to talk about some of the things that are issues in this great state, because people keep asking me every day. I was at an event last night. Are you really running for governor in Texas? Yes, I really am. I was mentioned this morning in a newspaper article talking about the one and only Robert Francis O'Rourke, Beto O'Rourke, who is planning on running as a Democrat for the governor of our great state. And I just don't believe we can let that happen based on who that guy is and what he stands for. So I was mentioned in that article. And I think we're going to be seeing a whole lot more. Who knows, Candace? Maybe we'll get more people who will start watching the show because of some of this free press we'll get. But it's not just about that. I'm serious about this because I love our great state. And I want to talk to you about some of the things that are going on here, and some things that I want to remind you of is going to remind you what you remember about being an American that lived in a great, great country that just doesn't seem so great right now. So put on your seatbelt. I'm all alone in here in this big cavernous Studio 22. Everybody's left me. I'm like the prophet sitting under the juniper bush, just so low, all alone. All have forsaken me. All have left me. Except for Candace and the soulless ginger rapper. Hey, I got some great news to share about our friends at Patriot Mobile. They just expanded their coverage dramatically, which will make it easier for even more Americans to dump the big-name carriers who charge way too much and then donate money to leftist causes. I'm proud to partner with Patriot Mobile because they never sent a penny to the left, and they will never silence you. And they are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Plus, you can switch with confidence because They use the same network as the larger providers, but charge much, much less. Switching is easy. You can keep your phone number, bring your own phone, or get a new one. You can build your own bundle with multi-line discounts, save even more. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Chad or call their customer-based customer service or their U.S.-based customer service team at 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT. Veterans and first responders are going to save even more. This month, you can get a free Premier activation where they're going to set up your phone for you and a special gift with the offer code CHAD. I spell it Chad. Go to patriotmobile.com/Chad. I hold in my hands the current Texas Republican platform. And I spoke at the Capitol just recently on the issue of constitutional carry for legal carrying of firearms in the state, constitutionally, that is. And we don't have constitutional carry. And that was my topic. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And a lot of folks have come to me and they said, if you run for governor, are you going to steal votes from the Republican Party or in essence, Greg Abbott, so that you wind up with a Beto O'Rourke? Absolutely not. The goal is to run against Greg Abbott. There'll probably be some others who will throw their hat in the ring. Right now, Martin Holsom, city councilman from Rusk, Texas, has thrown his hat in the ring as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see some pretty popular names, some folks who are holding office already in the great state. But the goal is to primary Greg Abbott. Now, do I think Greg Abbott overall is a bad guy? No, but I think that some of the things that he has done have been irredeemable in the eyes of most of Texas voters. The mask mandates, the various shutdowns, and all of these things that have happened through the coronavirus pandemic in an effort to keep people safe has, in essence, treated people like irresponsible children and sent them into time out. And that just doesn't flow well with Americans, and it certainly doesn't flow well when it comes to prideful Texans. Texas has a sort of mythology that surrounds it, but the mythology in many ways is based in reality. When Texas won its independence, great stories of great men came out of those days of battle and pioneering, and it made Texas larger than life. You've heard me say it before that when people come to America, they want to visit Texas. In many cases, people who come from other countries, they don't care if they visit America. If they haven't visited Texas, they feel like they haven't come to this country. And we have a very large state. And a lot of times people underestimate just how big it is. But we also have a large attitude, and we have a lot of pride when it comes to our state. So I want to make sure that people can remain prideful and proud of their state, and we can keep Texas great, because right now we are very much trending towards purple, if not blue. Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, now Fort Worth, Austin certainly have become blue areas. Those counties have become blue. The cities have become very, very blue. And I want to make sure that trend stops. So I want to share with you some of the platform ideas that really aren't just exclusive to Texas. They should be things that are all across America, but unfortunately they're not right now. And it's one of the reasons why I have started using hashtag Texit in a lot of my tweets, Candace, and people are calling me seditious. But the problem is, I think America has become seditious. I think the government of Washington, D.C. has become seditious. And so Texit, the exit of Texas, the ability and the freedom to dissolve yourself from a relationship of a government that no longer represents you becomes a viable option. My friend Kyle Biederman, who is a Texas representative out of Fredericksburg, he filed a House Bill 1359 just the other day, and it is known as the Texas Independence Referendum Act, which would allow the citizens of Texas to vote on whether the Texas legislature should create a joint interim committee to develop a plan for achieving Texas independence. Now, let me explain to you what that means, because that's not a resolution to allow for immediate independence. It's a legislation that's going to give power directly to the people of Texas via referendum and allow Texans the right to discuss, debate, and vote on creating a path towards Texas independence. Because regardless of an individual legislator's personal opinion on Texas independence, we all, as representatives and senators, every one of them need to let Texans vote. And we all need that right. So my friend Representative Biederman said, this act simply lets Texans vote. This decision is too big to be monopolized solely by the power brokers in our capital. We need to let Texans' voices be heard. Voters of all political persuasions in Texas can agree on one thing, and that is Washington, D.C. is and has been broken. Our federal government continuously fails our working families, seniors, taxpayers, veterans, small business owners, and for decades the promises of America and our individual liberties have been eroding. It is now time for the people of Texas, that the people of Texas are allowed the right to decide their own future. This is not a left or right political issue. Let Texans vote. And in practical terms, I was in a meeting recently with some folks that are pretty influential in Texas politics, and they said there's one deciding factor when it comes to you running for governor. They said if there was a House resolution placed on the floor, the Texas legislature, that gave Texans the right to vote on their ability to have their independence, would you ratify it or veto it? And I said I would 100% ratify it. I would let that vote go to the people of Texas. And they said, good, that's what we wanted to hear. And then encouraged their support. Texas Constitution in Article 1, Section 2 states all political power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their own authority and instituted for their benefit. The faith of the people of Texas stands pledged to the preservation of a Republican form of government and subject to this limitation only. They have at all times the inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they think expedient. You have thousands of people every year that are moving to the state of Texas to escape the climate of overregulation and taxation. We're seeing that right now as California is moving in strongly into Texas. Don't California my Texas. And Texas has been seen as that last bastion of freedom and the leader of free enterprise, which has built a robust economy, financial solvency, and capacity for massive energy production worthy of the world stage. These are all indications that the Republic of Texas would not just survive, but would indeed thrive as an independent nation. Now is the time for Texas to lead. And I love what Alan West has said, although under a different sentiment, when he has said, it's not up to us to secede, it's up to us to lead. And I want us to lead, but I want us to lead independently. I really want us to be able to do that, especially if we continue to be governed by a government of fiat orders and executive actions and things that are coming out of Washington, D.C., of which we don't share those values, and we honestly don't. Those aren't things that we want for our lives. Preamble to the Republican platform says, affirming our belief in God. I love that they start it that way. We still hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Throughout the world, people dare to dream of freedom and opportunity. The Republican Party of Texas unequivocally defends that dream. We strive to preserve the freedom given to us by God, implemented by our founding fathers, and embodied in the Constitution. We recognize that the traditional family is the strength of our nation. It is our solemn duty to protect innocent life and develop responsible citizens. We understand that our economic success depends upon free market principles, and if we fail to maintain our sovereignty, we risk losing the freedom to live these ideals. Now, those are some of the issues that I've had with our now Governor Greg Abbott to have economic success with free market principles. You can't do that when you shut business down or you limit capacity. You can't do that when you tell people that they can't go to work. that they can't go to church, that they can't get together in their various communities, whether that be governmental, whether that be civic, whether that be religious, whether that be entrepreneurial, or even in business. You can't tell people that you're going to shut them down and then expect them to thrive in free market principles. It's not going to happen. We recognize that the traditional family is the strength of our nation, solemn duty to protect innocent life and develop responsible citizens. How are we going to do that when we are literally creating an atmosphere whereby depression rates and suicide rates and so many various things that affect the family, that affect the innocent, are skyrocketing statistically in our state? We've got to turn people loose, let them be free, and reclaim our independence. Now, there's been people via a smear campaign of sorts who have continually said that I am pro-mandates, that I'm pro-shutdown, I'm pro-lockdown, that I'm pro-mask, that I'm pro-vaccine. For your children, mandatory vaccines. You've got to listen to me, folks. Over and over again, I've said I am for people's liberties. I do not want mask mandates. I do not want lockdowns or shutdowns. I do not want you to have to be quarantined. You're not sick. If you're not sick, then you should be allowed to go to work. You should allow to be able to go to your places of worship. If you are free people, then you should not have to be able to ask, you should not be forced to ask the government's permission as to whether or not you can abstain from vaccinating your child before they go to school. That is not a free people. What I've said is I'm anti-mandates, I'm anti-exemptions. What I mean by that is you should not have to claim an exemption in order to raise your child the way you want to. We're hurting the family. And to say that we believe that our nation, our country, our state is built on the traditional family, and that is the strength of our nation, then why are we hurting the family with mandates, in all of these forced duties? So I want to be a defender of that dream and preserve the freedom given to us by God, embodied in the Constitution. A lot of things that are going on. So that's why I'm encouraging people. Get over to Prather2022.com. Check it out. We're going to be putting a lot of different platform policies on there, and I'm going to be talking about some of those in the upcoming segments here on this episode of the Chad Prather Show. But go to Prather2022.com. You're going to see a couple of different things. You hit the contribute button. Not only does it give you an opportunity to contribute to what I believe and what I'm pursuing, but it will also give you some video content there that will talk to you about why I believe it's time for us to fight. And among those things is we're going to be creating a questionnaire. We're going to be creating a poll that's going to go out to a group of Texas citizens to ask what they care about, what they hope to have in leadership, what policies are the main issues for them, what is the best way to serve them, and what are they disappointed in, and what do they expect in their elected officials. Because at the end of the day, this is a representative government, and people have for so long and for too long allowed these little dictators to determine their life's path, to force them into financial ruin in some cases, to be overtaxed, to be overburdened. And I want people to get back to personal freedom, personal liberty, personal responsibility, and less freaking government. There should not be government overreach, oversight into your life. There should not be government intrusion, government invasion. The government should stay away from you as much as is possible and just be there to serve you. What a novel concept that is. And so I'm encouraging people, get over to Prather2022.com and stay there. Keep up with what we're going to bookmark it, keep it, and check it every day, because we're going to continually be putting new issues, items, platforms up there that I think are going to encourage you and excite you. And it's not out of our reach. I had somebody who said to me the other day, they said, well, we don't want a governor who's going to be learning on the job. Well, if you've never, they all learn on the job. The problem is they don't listen on the job. And I want to be someone that listens to you so that you feel like you have a true representative in Austin, Texas. Woo, what a mouthful. Hey, social media and big tech are bulldozing over our rights and freedoms until they've silenced every last voice of dissent. They will not stop. So will you be bold enough to stand in their way? Now, you could just deactivate all your social media accounts, but that would be giving the left just what they wanted in the first place. Instead of letting big tech sites revoke your right to free speech, why not revoke their right to your data? That's why I choose to protect my entire online data, all of my online data, by using ExpressVPN. You ever wonder how free to access social media companies make all their money? Well, they do it by tracking your searches, your video history, and everything you click on, and then they sell your valuable data to these companies out there. And so when you use ExpressVPN, you anonymize much of your online presence by hiding your IP address. That makes your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. And what makes it even better is ExpressVPN is going to encrypt 100% of your data to protect you from eavesdroppers on your network, and your ExpressVPN app couldn't be easier to set up. You just tap one button on your phone or computer and you're protected. So I want you to say no to censorship and take back your online privacy with the VPN I trust at expressvpn.com/watchchad. By visiting my link, you'll get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN service. Again, expressvpn.com/watchchad to protect your data. Go there today. We'll be right back. You got to write that down, Candace. Not somebody that not only learns on the job, but listens on the job. I'm telling you, that's the way it's got to be. I love what Dave Rubin said on the show on Thursday when he said that he would just take whatever Gavin Newsom did in California, just do the opposite. We don't have the ability to kind of do that when it comes to here, because Greg Abbott hasn't done everything wrong. It's just I tell you what I don't want is I don't want someone listening and following suit from what people in New York are doing or what people in California are doing. And when I say people, I mean the governors of, because now you've got information that's coming out that they underreported the deaths of coronavirus patients in New York. Cuomo hid that. And so even with all of the lockdowns, even with all the mandates, you still had an uptick in the crisis, and you had more deaths, and then you add on top of that how many people became unemployed, became depressed, lost their businesses, lost their dreams. And it's unfortunate, and so I don't want to do that. But I want to give you some principles here from the current Texas Republican platform. We, the 2020 Republican Party of Texas, of course, obviously 21 now, believe in this platform and expect our elected leaders to uphold these truths through acknowledgement and action. Now, I'll let you be the judge as to whether or not your leaders are upholding these or not. And for some of you, these may not even be your values, but they're certainly mine. First of all, the laws of nature and nature's God. And we support the strict adherence to the original language, the intent of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of Texas. 2, the sanctity of innocent human life created in the image of God, which should be equally protected from fertilization and natural death. 3, preserving American and Texas sovereignty and freedom. 4, limiting government power to those items enumerated in the United States and Texas Constitution. 5, personal accountability and responsibility. Man, we have lost that in such a big, big way. 6, self-sufficient families founded on the traditional marriage of a natural man and a natural woman. 7, having an educated population with parents having the freedom of choice for the education of their children. 8, the inalienable right of all people to defend themselves and their property, which for me includes the right to constitutional carry, because let's face it, 30 other state governments allow that, including Oklahoma to our north. And for Texas to still be lagging behind, they shouldn't have to ask anyone's permission. Someone said the other day to me on social media, that, and I've said this before on the show, they said, would you allow felons who have served their time, have done their probation, to have the right to carry a firearm? I'm personally for it. And someone said, I can't believe that you would say that and that you would believe that. But I do, because if a felon is still going to engage in criminal activity, it doesn't matter if they've served their time or not. They still are going to find access to a firearm. So it's just like saying if you made abortion illegal, then people would use back alley abortions to get that done. Well, what do you think is going to happen if you make guns illegal to certain people? Well, they're going to find ways to go and get them anyway. So that's my argument there. Once you've served your time, I believe that a lot of those things should be expunged so that your rights are returned to you. Number 9, a free enterprise society unencumbered by government interference or subsidies. And 10, honoring all of those that serve and protect our freedom. Let me read to you 9 again. And boy, does this resonate so much in the age of coronavirus and masks and double masking and triple masking and all of the nonsense. I read an article yesterday that said if you're out jogging alone, you should at minimum have 2 masks on. A free enterprise society unencumbered by government interference or subsidies. Get the hell out of the way. Get the government out of people's way. And that is such nonsense when it comes to the things that our government is expecting from us, and it is just absolute insanity and futility at that. I walked into a private event last night. As soon as I walked in the door, someone said, "Where is your mask?" And I just turned around and walked out, honestly. I just turned around and walked out. I was done with it. I said, no, I was invited here, and to be treated like that as soon as I walk in the door, it's just, if that's the problem, then I'm leaving. There's a lot of things that are out there that need to happen, and to get back to a place where we do not have governmental interference happening in our lives. And then the forcing of employees to enforce those mandates and those laws is absolutely wrong. Because now, at this stage in the game, if I go into a place of business and that employee is forced to enforce a mandate that is unconstitutional, then it's not fair for me to have to get into an argument now with that person that didn't make the mandate themselves. I want to take it straight to the top, the people who are doing the mandate. So I'm opposed to it, absolutely opposed to it. Another thing I'm opposed to is all executive orders. I don't care if it's the president. I don't care if it's a governor. I don't care if it's a local official if it goes beyond administration of executive authority and have the effect of legislation. Listen, I think executive orders need to be rescinded. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And now we got Joe Biden, who's done, I don't know, what's the count up to now, about 39? 38, 39. The guy doesn't even know what he's signing, doesn't even know where to stick his pen. But let me read this to you. One of the points in this party platform. We affirm that the lawful gun ownership and carry by the people protects us from those who wish to do harm and guards against tyranny by our own government. We call upon gun owners of Texas to regulate themselves through exercising safe handling procedures, voluntarily receiving training and helping to train others, and safely carrying firearms as deterrent to crime. We support all legislation and policies that reduce restrictions on legal gun owners age 18 and over to purchase, own, or carry any type of gun, ammunition, accessory, bump stocks, knife, or other weapons, and oppose all legislation and policies that hinder the same. It's just a matter of time before they come after your suppressors and they come after your quote-unquote high-capacity magazines. Remember Beto O'Rourke, who said, hell yes, I'm going to come for your guns. And now he's wanting to run for governor in the state of Texas. It goes on. We support the following state legislation: constitutional carry, allowing law-abiding citizens who aren't prohibited from possessing handguns to carry them openly or concealed while maintaining the option of a permit for reciprocity purposes. So that is, if you need to go into another state, you may need to have a permit for that. an Interstate Protection Act exempting guns made and sold in Texas from federal regulations and preventing Texas from enforcing federal law not also affirmed. So in other words, hell no, you can't come get our guns. And we support national reciprocity for handgun carry. God and guns, folks. That's where I live. God, guns, and babies, Candace. We oppose any measure that would deprive someone. I just like that right there. We oppose any measure that would deprive someone. I think that right there needs to be just the party platform. Hey, you know it'll make you happy? Getting your best credit score. The average American has 97 points they can add to their credit score. 97 points, but no idea how to get them. ScoreMaster knows how. ScoreMaster isn't credit repair, it's credit science, and it helps you get your points faster. In fact, the average ScoreMaster user adds 61 points in 20 days or less, and getting your plus points fast can save you a fortune before you apply for a loan or a credit card or refi to buy your home or buy a car. ScoreMaster is also great for business owners who can use their credit score to finance their businesses. ScoreMaster is even great for mortgage brokers who need an edge in help giving their clients better deals. ScoreMaster is great for everybody. It's good for me. I'm enjoying watching my score go higher. It even shows you the score consequences if you spend too much or identity theft. No one else does what they do. So enroll in a few minutes, see how many points you can add to your credit score and how fast. Visit scoremaster.com/Chad. That's scoremaster.com/Chad. We'll be right back. No, what I started to say before the break, we oppose any measure that would deprive someone of their right to possess firearms. They add without being convicted of a crime or found mentally incompetent by a medical psychiatrist professional that would cause gun owners to be investigated by law enforcement or to appear before a judge when there's no reasonable cause of a crime committed. And I agree with that. This includes state legislation such as red flag laws, social media monitoring that targets gun owners, expanded background check, mandates on personal firearms storage, and government-mandated location restrictions such as those in K-12 schools and 51% establishments, and federal laws such as PTSD-related restrictions and the National Firearms Act. So there's a lot that's there. There's a lot that needs to be changed, a lot that needs to go down to bring Texas to where I think it needs to be when it comes to things such as firearms. A whole lot of things. Candace, I still think we live in the greatest country, or live in the greatest state in the country, and 10th largest economy in the world. And people don't realize how big this state is. Like if I drove from Birmingham, Alabama to, let's say, Longview, Texas, which is in East Texas, and I came I-20. From there to El Paso, Texas, is the same driving distance as it was from Birmingham, Alabama, which takes about 8 hours to drive all the way across there, 8 or 9 hours. And they would take that much more. Just you're only halfway to El Paso at that point. So that's a long haul across this state. I'm going to be driving some of it this week, headed down to the Gulf Coast. This is a beautiful state. We've got everything. We've got canyons, we've got mountains, we've got the coast, we've got the oceans, we got the prairies and the plains, we got the piney woods. It's a gorgeous place to be. It really is its own country, and I love it. So I want it to be run as though it were exactly that. I want to abolish the Department of Education. It's not an enumerated power of the federal government, and I think it should be abolished. There needs to be religious freedom. The school administrators and officials not to infringe on Texas school students and staff rights to pray and engage in religious speech individually or in groups. We've got to stop that. And trust me when I tell you, guys like Beto O'Rourke, that's exactly what they want to abolish. They've stated as much. but I believe that students have the right to exhibit religious items on school property. They have the right to religious documents. They have the right to religious speech, and so on and so forth. I think we've got to get back to teaching Texas history in a way that is unbiased and fair, and be proud of our history. The good and the bad needs to be taught. I think there needs to be a law that's passed that prohibits the teaching of sex education, sexual health, or sexual choice or identity in our public schools. Sorry, Candace, you don't get to go to sex ed anymore. That's there's only two genders: biological male, biological female. I don't believe in transgender normalizing curriculum and pronoun use. There's fair play for Texas athletes. I don't believe that biological men need to be competing against biological women, and so on and so forth in public school system. And I believe I could go on and on and on about that. Let's see. What else do I want to bring up to you guys? Don't even get me into property taxes, which I think are ungodly, and if not abolished, need to be greatly reduced. I believe that we can make a lot of money to take care of our state without instituting a state income tax, with just a consumer tax that then you have the choice as to whether or not you want to go out and buy things or not. But when you buy things, you will be taxed. And when you're taxed, then we'll use that tax to do what I believe the property tax is doing right now. And we'll be far better off because of it, because people are just getting absolutely demolished by property taxes right now, which are some of the highest in our country. And in fact, I think there should be, here's one of the platform. We support replacing the property tax system with an alternative other than the income tax and requiring voter approval to increase the overall tax burden. We urge the legislature to develop a transition plan that is a net tax cut. One of those solutions could be a consumption tax, which is exactly what I just said. We support the legislation that limited property tax revenue increases to 2.5% for school maintenance and operations and 3.5% for most other units of government. We call the legislature to close the disaster loophole in the law. We call on the legislature to require taxing authorities to make taxpayers whole when property taxes were raised more than 3.5% without voter approval. We support a simple, fair, and efficient method for financing our public school system. We oppose the Robin Hood system of public school finance and believe the Texas legislature, not the courts, should determine the amount of money spent on public education and the distribution thereof. I won't go into that. So anyway, I'm doing all these things for Party Foul. Y'all know that, right? At the end of the day, it's really just to make it easier on Party Foul Steve. So if he were here, we could be looking at a lot of stuff. Anything that basically Party Foul Steve has a problem with is what we would do. Unelected bureaucrats. We oppose the appointment of unelected bureaucrats, and we support defunding and abolishing the departments and agencies of the Internal Revenue Service, Education, Energy, Housing and Urban Development, Commerce, Health and Human Services, Labor, Interior, especially the Bureau of Land Management, Transportation Security Administration, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosive, and National Labor Relations Board. In the interim, executive decisions by departments or agencies must be reviewed and approved by Congress before taking effect. Pretty simple stuff there. Pretty simple stuff. Unelected bureaucrats should not be having a say in your life. I mean, that's what's crazy when you have a Pete Buttigieg in the United States Capitol who's possibly going to be the Secretary of Transportation. And when asked how he felt about that and what his qualifications were, he says, well, I like to ride on trains. This is absolutely insane. Got to oppose pay-to-play endorsement states and urge Republican primary voters to exercise extreme caution regarding any endorsement or statement made in these slates. Support that early voting will be limited to 7 days, ending on a Friday before Election Day. Support the right for eligible voters to cast a ballot in each election once, but oppose illegal voting, illegal assistance, or ineligible persons registering. Support vigorous enforcement for all our election laws as written and oppose any laws, lawsuits, and judicial decisions that make voter fraud very difficult to deter, detect, or prosecute. We support voter photo ID. Internet voting for public office and any ballot measure should be prohibited. We oppose any attempt to expand the criteria for ballot by mail in Texas because of the potential for voter fraud. We support increased scrutiny and security in balloting by mail. We support raising to felony status infractions of the Texas election code during in-person voting, including allowing persons not in the poll book to vote a regular ballot, willfully misclassifying the reason for a provisional ballot, giving one voter multiple ballot access codes or multiple ballots, and all forms of voter assistance not compliant with the Texas election code, especially assistants, quote unquote, who force themselves on voters to influence their votes. We support changes to the appropriate sections of Texas law that would deny or cancel homestead exemptions, driver license, and license to carry if the addresses on those documents do not match the address of the voter registration. Let me just say that personally, I think that if you're going to move to this state, you should have to be here for an interim period of time before you can vote on state matters. Or state elections. I don't know if I could enforce that, but I do like that idea because I think people need to know how we do things here in Texas. Bottom line. So there's a lot of stuff we could get into, but I think you're getting the point of what I am saying here. We got to get back to liberty, guys. We got to get back to responsibility, so on and so forth. Anyway, I could go on with that for days. And it's important stuff. These are the things that you hear me say, and you're like, yep, we need to do that. It seems like it's common sense, but unfortunately these days it's not. Y'all hang tight. We will be right back. I want to encourage everybody to go to Prather2022.com, contribute where you can. One of the things I'm going to do, Candace, is I'm going to get those little squeeze ball, but the poop emoji squeeze balls, and I'm going to put Pelosi poo on there. I'm going to get them customized, say Pelosi poo. And for every $5 donation or more, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to mail a Pelosi poo to Nancy Pelosi's house in San Francisco, because we don't want you to California or Texas. I don't need Pelosi poo all over my state. So go to Prather2022.com and donate, and we're going to mail out some Pelosi poo because I don't want her crap coming into our state, and that's exactly what we're having. We're going to send some to Gavin Newsom. I just got to come up. I got to come up with something catchy for the cow patties. Gavin Newsom cow patties or something, and we're going to send them to those guys because we don't want to California or Texas, and it's going to be fun. I'm actually going to write a song, I think, called Don't California My Texas. Be interesting. But go to watchchad.com. Be sure to sign up with your email there so that you get special offers in our newsletter, all sorts of good stuff, and you'll stay abreast of all these different policy issues, and we'll be talking about these things as they come forward. But we can't allow the state to remain shut down. We definitely can't allow it to turn blue. So please help me in this endeavor. I didn't pursue politics. Politics pursued me, and now we're going to chase it to the very bitter but successful end. So just know that I love you guys, and that's the reason I'm doing it. There's no fame and glory in this, I can assure you of that. But I want to do what's best for the interest of the state of Texas. So thanks for watching. BlazeTV.com. Sign up. We love you. God bless you. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.